Thank you for being here today. Somehow today was really an important day for me. So I'm glad to be standing here before you and sharing my heart. I'm so happy that Barbara is doing our opening treatment, saying those words. I know that God is in this place because we are here. She came up with that a long time ago, but it has been her standard. And really, if you kind of analyze what we do here, we're saying that with everything. We're saying this is about recognizing the divine and recognizing it at the point of us, each of us. First ourselves and then everyone else. And that when we do that, we play the whole game of life very differently. And we do our best to do that. And what we call that is oneness. And it's just the foundation of our teaching. The concept of oneness is the first principle that we teach, that we strive to live. It is the base idea on which this entire movement is based. To be one, to know our oneness. Not always that easy, though. Especially when times get tough. I love that song. And the fact that we look at the fact that even the greatness of this knowing, sometimes we fall short on that and we forget and we think we're alone. We think we're having to do this by ourselves rather than knowing there's something greater going on. But I want to share with you some ideas that speak to this from the heart of our teaching. Many years ago, Ernest Holmes was asked to say what he believed. And he came up with a thing that we later began to call our Declaration of Principles. And that declaration has some very powerful words in it that I want to share with you as we explore again this deeper, although I could just look at this picture all day. Yeah. Okay, John, let's do it. We believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. You notice that line doesn't actually say that presence is a being. We so easily want it to be a being that we can call on when times get hard. It feels so natural to do that. But Holmes says that, yes, it's a living spirit, but spirit is a non-physical state of being, and he says it's a cause. It is actually the cause of everything. It is the creator of all. Even the things that we claim to have created ourselves are created by the divine. But that's not separate from us. That's the game, to understand that that's not separate. It's not that we're looking for something outside of ourselves. Because we think sometimes that we're our bodies. We think that our bodies are the essence of who we are. And when our bodies don't work so well, or have pain, or whatever's going on with them, we think that something's wrong with us. And he's saying that this one presence is indestructible. So it can't be your body. Your body is a creation, but it's not who we are. It's what we use to move through this life. He says it's absolute, which is an amazing word, absolute. That there's nothing else. There's only divine presence and the creative stuff that comes from divine presence. That's it. And I even question whether the creative stuff that comes is real. But the presence is real. And that's where we work from to make this teaching work, to make our lives work in this idea of who we are. The second line of the declaration says this one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. So we can't find God in our body. We can't find God in our conditions. Those are the creative points. And it's not that God's not there, but God is not absorbed into that creation enough to make it something where you can find God in it. You have to find God somewhere else. And that's the work. And we're all working to do that all the time. We want to know, how this works. And if you look at the whole experience of the Judeo-Christian traditions, God is not who we are. And I'm not saying this to make anybody wrong, because I believe everyone has a right to experience the divine any way they want to. But for us in this teaching, that doesn't calculate. There's something greater going on. There's something bigger going on. And if you ever ask someone who studies the Christian faith or in any form, or the Jewish faith, or even Islam, and you ask them if they're God, they think you're a heretic. They think you're nuts. That's not how it works. God is something greater. Now, they will tell you that God is omnipresent, always present, everywhere, except in you. So what that creates is this idea that we got to go find God outside, that we got to get favor from that divine presence. I don't know how to do that anymore. That's not working for me. And what does work for me is when I get quiet and go inside and have a conversation with the God of my being, which is not separate from who I am. Not separate at all. So I thought of a way some time ago of how we can understand how this works. And it's not a perfect example, but it kind of helped me. So I want to share it with you. This would be a single cell. We can call it a human cell, perhaps. But whatever it is, it's a cell. And if it were part of our body, it would be functioning to do a certain thing. But inside of that single individual cell, there's this thing called DNA. And the DNA is actually a code that tells your body everything it needs to know to recreate any cell in the body, from your hair to your nails to your brain to your liver. It doesn't matter. The structure of all of those cells in the body, billions of them, is all in that DNA code. So your body can recreate cells from that. But the thing about the DNA is that it doesn't actually make you do anything. It's information, valuable, important information. And it's as though, comparing it to us, is that within us is this presence. Now, I'm not saying in our bodies, in our being, there's this presence that is perfect, that is absolute in every way, and that has all the information of all of life. But it doesn't force us to do anything. We have this thing called a mind, and we use the mind to create our experience of life. We are absolutely free will individuals. Now, if you take that cell out of the body, it won't live very long. But what they found is, from research, is you can take cells out of the body and separate them incredibly from the body by many, like 1,000 miles. And while that cell's still alive, it will react to stimulus of the body that it came from 1,000 miles away. How does that work? God is omnipresent, everywhere present, in us, as us, moving through us at all points. It's important for us to get this. And I'll tell you that everything we do here, every thing that we recite, everything that we listen to in prayer, everything that I say is supposed to align with this one idea of the oneness of spirit. So there is no separation from us and this presence. It's impossible. It can't happen. One of the early teachers in this movement, Ralph Waldo Trine, came up with this phrase, this thought. There is nothing that will more quickly and more completely bring a person into harmony with the laws under which he lives than this vital realization of oneness of the infinite. That's kind of esoteric, but what I believe that he's saying there is that we want to align our thinking with the reality of this oneness. That if we live in a world that has us being in any way separate from this presence, it can't happen. But what our mind can do is give us the sense of being separate, of being alone. And that's not going to help. That's not going to help any of us live the life that we want to live. And I want to go back to this idea of having an outside God. It's so easy. It feels so natural to have an outside God. It actually can feel comforting that something greater than me can take care of me, that can protect me, that can bless me. All these lovely ideas. And I've had, when I was teaching classes, it was so often that there would be somebody in the class that really wanted to hold on to that. But I really like the idea of having a relationship with God. I'm here, God's there. And I get it. I understand. It's comforting. It feels good. The problem is that if you're searching for an outside God, there will be times that you'll feel like you didn't get your answer, that you didn't get taken care of, that things fell apart. Ooh, now can you count on the outside God? Maybe not. It was Holmes that said, and I'm just paraphrasing, but he said if someone is looking for an outside presence, they'll never find it. And if they're looking for an inside presence, they can't miss it. So the deal is that to make our lives work, we have to kind of reorient and to the level of default that when we want to connect with the divine, when we want to remember the truth of that we have to go inward. That's the only place to go. The trees and all the flowering bushes that are about to burst into flower are lovely. But don't look for God there. The mountains are majestic. The ocean is magnificent. But don't look for God there. Look inside. That's where God is. God is in this place, not physically as much as on a spiritual plane. We are all connected at this one point of the divine, this one aspect, this one level or layer, or whatever you want to call it, where there isn't a physical world, where there aren't limitations, where everything is absolute. And at that level, that's where God dwells. That's the place where God dwells. And you can say it's in this room, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's right where you are. Another thought from the principles. We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. That's the only place you'll find it that will really work for you. You may have momentary thoughts that God has answered, an outside God has answered a prayer. You can have those thoughts, but you can't count on it. What you can count on is that the essence of your being and my being, for me, is where God is. It's where that perfection is. I make missteps. I say things I shouldn't have said. I do things I shouldn't have done. At a physical level, I'm fallible. But I'm not at the level of the divine. I'm perfect. And I can go there and know that at any moment. And anything can be resolved. When we practice oneness, there can be no burden in our lives. Any sense of opposition cannot coexist with a consciousness that perceives unity. The unity is at the point of us. Now, you read that and you might go, well, Barbara's a great teacher of this, but she has physical limitations now that she didn't used to have. How do you explain that? Very easily. I want you to know that this incredible being that I fell in love with decades ago is still here, complete in every way. Now, her body may not be responding the way it used to. She may have some physical challenges. She may have some challenges in getting the words out, but her mind is clear. That was demonstrated earlier when she did the opening treatment, and I tried to give her a close, and she pretty much said, I'm not ready to close. She's here. She's not missing a trick. She's got it all going on. And the fact that her body has some limitations now is not a limitation on her being. She is whole in every way, and I have the blessing of knowing that every day. You may look like you have some physical limitations. That's not who you are. You're something greater than that. Every experience in life is perfect. Now, we have expectations that things should work a certain way all the time. That's not how it works. Bodies have cycles. You're born, you go through your growing, and then you go through a decline. That's just the way it's designed. It is what it is, but you are something separate. You are infinite, you are eternal, you are absolute. And the perfection of the divine dwells at the point of you and will always, no matter what. So call on that, rely on that, count on it, and use it. Use it. When some condition shows up that you don't want, say, that's not for me. I know the truth of my being. And as I said before, I'm as fallible as anybody. I have these ideas of limitation at times. I was pretty antsy about this idea of who was going to be the next minister. I had some high standards. Ridiculous. But as it turned out, all the prayers, all the good work that has been done to know that this community not only continues to thrive, but grows and expands, is on the horizon. Because we've held clear this idea. People like Devon and others, our practitioners, our staff, have held clear that this is happening in a good way. And it is. Now, we haven't followed all the rules set forth by our organization in Colorado. We did some things they would wish we hadn't done. But it's still working out perfectly. It's working out beautifully. So all is in perfect order, happening just the way it's supposed to happen. You see, God is in this place. God is in our thoughts and our actions. God is the essence of everything. It's the thing that's real. So use that knowing to make your lives work. Count on it no matter what. Let your relationship with God be a relationship with you. Does God hear our prayers? Absolutely, because we hear our prayers. Does God speak truth? Absolutely, because we speak truth. Is God in the midst of it all? Absolutely. Know this, live by it, and let it work in every aspect of your life. And your life will get easier. And no matter what may happen to you in your life, when you know the truth, you know you are greater than anything else. And as Barbara said, I also want you to know that I love you. And I'm so grateful to have you in my life. And so it is.